Hello and welcome to this tutorial dedicated to pattern making. How to take the different elements of a piece and create the pattern yourself in paper format so you can recreate it later. So I will show you the example with these vintage high panties. So this is not a very complicated model, but it's perfect for explaining the basics of flat pattern making. So let's get started with the video dedicated to pattern making. Okay. So welcome to this course dedicated to pattern making. This is about how to take the pattern from a piece that you like and want to recreate. So here, it will be a flat piece. We are going to take a flat piece like a pair of panties. A flat piece is one that can be laid flat, which is not shaped, like for example a bra, which would be difficult to lay flat. So I will assume that, in fact, you do not want to cut this piece, this vintage high panties, you want to keep it. So the simplest way is simply to cut around each of your pieces and retrace them, obviously adding the seam allowances. Here, I will assume that you want to keep your piece intact, so you have ironed it well. So we will simply use cotton, white cotton. The best option is to use cotton that is not too thick so that you can see or feel through the seams. And this is how we will take the measurements of each of our pattern pieces. Before that, what you need to understand well is that your piece, it is gathered. And we want to take the pattern of the piece flat, that is to say, without the elastics. So we will pin it in a way that it has the shape it has when there are no elastics. So here you can pin it. You shouldn't stretch it too much, just stretch it, enough to get the shape. It's a small gesture, look, there's no need to pull, we don't want to stretch it, we just want to lay it flat in its original shape. And here, it's the same. So you only make 1/2, no need to create full vintage panties. We will take the measurements of the half. In pattern making, 1/2 is sufficient. Here, I also place my pins. You will see that sometimes when taking the measurements for the patterns, you may notice asymmetries. It will be up to you later. Laid flat, we will check if everything is coherent. So here you have a garment that is stretched out, laid flat. We are now going to take this first measurement. This is the first element. If I look inside my piece, it's just decoration. There is a piece of satin that has been applied. So in fact, we have a piece that is solid, well, that stops on the other side. So here I will really respect the shape of the piece, but you can very well modify it when it's flat if you want. So I will first take my center front. I remind you that I always use a steam erasable pencil. So there you go. You can just trace the center front to know where you will start taking your pattern measurements. Here, it's the same. You can do the middle. I decided to work on this half simply by positioning my fabric like this. You can even place the edge there, on the half directly. We won't complicate things. You pin it, there you go. You secure it without stretching. You need to have a cotton or something that is not stretchy to take your pattern. You can even use tissue paper, but I didn't have any, so I'm showing you the example with a cotton. Okay, now, what we are going to do is simply, by transparency, using a sharp pencil, and we make clean lines because I see a lot of people who really have patterns that look like rough drafts. It's awful. So simply, with a pencil, you will be able to trace the edge. There you go. From your outline. The best approach is to really take the clean edge and then, laid flat, we will add the seam allowances. So the raw edge is right there. You can use your nail to help you. You see, when I run my nail along it, the seam is outlined there. And so all that's left to do is make some discrete little marks. There you go. To redo your tracing simply, if you really can't see it, you can always gently lift it and check. There you go. But normally, all I need to do is run my nail along it and the edge easily shows up. It's very easy, the same. If I look, it falls there and then I can see that here, my seam comes in there. So you just need to continue the line as well. Use your eye, why not? There you go. So here, you can mark your first element and you place it in front. You can mark your reference point here if you want to recreate exactly the same model. I will take this opportunity to make a notch here and a notch there. This way, I will know that it was in this location, on this line. There will be my mark to recreate the same thing if I wish. And there you go. You can remove your pins. You have your first element traced. You can start cutting now just to free yourself up to work on the other pieces there. And we put this aside. We'll come back to it later. So before you remove the pins from your piece, it is important to know where you stopped in your tracing since there is no seam here, meaning that your element is not complete. You haven't finished marking your element completely, so here you go along the edge as I did. Make small dots. There you go, at the level of your fold. The same goes for the panties lining. Once that's done, we can remove the pins and meet for the second half. What do we do next? First, we aim to lay our element flat, which is currently gathered and finished. There are finishes that alter the shape, so we really need to find it again. What we are looking to see is to recover the basic shape. There you go, without the elastics, otherwise you completely distort your measurements. Now gently stretch it without relaxing. Stretching does not mean relaxing. Here you can carefully secure it by putting in a few pins to help you see if your piece is completely flat. Just look at the fiber. Does it take on a straight appearance? Simply put, here it is slightly shaped. We are going to stretch this, okay? We can see that there is a little curve to fit the buttock, so now I'm going to finish tracing my front piece here. I had cut it, but I could have easily left a bit of space to continue tracing. Never mind, you will do this flat, and you will add your element flat, so the same thing. You will very carefully take your square of cotton and gently position it. There you go, you pin it, you pin it. I don't do it because I'm used to it, but you can pin it, and so you come here using your nail or just by eye. You gently come in and move aside just to see where the line falls, without shifting your entire piece of cotton, really. There you go, it falls here, there, here, my nail will do the trick. And you come to take the measurements. You see, it's relatively easy. It's geometry, nothing more, nothing less. It's really just geometry. There, I see that it has shifted a bit. I will redo it, so you can mark the front, then you can cut. Obviously, when you position your fabric, it's never on the bias. You always place it on the straight grain. We will take this part, so the same applies. We will take the center back. We work with 1/2, so we will only take this part. There is no point in taking both. So here we go. I'm going to get comfortable like this. Same work, same thing. I'm going to use my nail to find the edge. There you go. I have difficulty feeling with my nail because there is a zigzag point there that it bothers me. So that's why I simply prefer to use my hand. I press down on the fabric so it doesn't move, and at the same time I lift it slightly just where I need to see. There's no need to make a big deal out of it, just there you go, you do it like this, you take the measurements and you mark. There's nothing complicated about it. The best thing is to make small marks. It's all about the feel. After that, it's really a matter of touch here, your center, back. If you want to be sure not to make a mistake in the line, you can really put it here in the middle, you know. So here, I am going to check if I have followed my outline correctly. I am slightly, here is my outline. It is there for the continuation of my vintage high panties. That's why it's important to have done this, to make sure you start from where you left off, to pick up from the same place. So I'm going to slightly shift the rest. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That has been noted. I'm going back to my pattern making. I had stopped here. I'm repositioning it. Here is where I had stopped my fabric, and I'm going to trace the rest. There is the nail right over here that can definitely help me. And there you go. After rounding, you can do it by hand, or you can also use a parrot or a gun to get a clean finish. That's it. So now you have taken all your measurements. It's a not very complicated pair of panties, a not very complicated pattern. Basically, there are 3 elements to measure. Now we will lay it flat, and that's all for this tutorial for now. If you want the full version of the tutorial, all you have to do is subscribe to the Boudoir Français newsletter, and you will receive the complete tutorial on the pattern making of the vintage high panties in your inbox. So how do we go from this to a finished pattern, whether in paper or cardboard, that is perfect, with perfect controlled symmetrical lines? I will explain how to do this in this tutorial. You just need to enter your email in the French Buddha newsletter, and you will receive the complete tutorial with professional techniques. To subscribe to the newsletter, it's very easy. You just need to click on the link in the description of this video. Thank you for watching this video, and see you soon for the next dedicated tutorial.